Good morning, good morning. Welcome to this session of International Talk Show. We will talk about DEI and global trends. This is Adriano Solidoro, Università di Milano-Bicocca, and I will facilitate this session. We have some outstanding guests here, and before introducing the topic, I'm going to introduce them to you, to the audience. And we have Lisa Corti, Head of HR and Legal, RAPI Group.
Good morning. Thank you for being here. Thank you for having me.
Elisa Fornero, HR Director, South and West Europe, and DEI Lead at Johnson Controls Holding Italy.
Good morning.
Good morning, welcome. Claire Idier, HR Director, Europe, Massimo. Good morning, thank you for being here. Michelle Strass-Fitz, Head of Sustainability at Loop. Good morning, Michelle. And Fabrizio Tripodi, Regional HR Director, Europe Southwest, Brown Forman. Good morning, Fabrizio. Okay, a very brief topic to the brief introduction to the topic of the discussion. The title is suggesting something, the future of DEI, global trends, local tensions. So what shall we say? I would suggest that 2025 doesn't look like 2015 at all. So DEI has been the center of many discussion about HR management and also about organizational design, organizational change, organizational learning. And now it doesn't seem so. At least we are in US, we are assisting some political backlash. In Europe, the situation is a bit different, but opinions are very polarized. And maybe diversity policies are slowing down. I don't know. You will tell me what's happening. And so I would suggest to my guests to make a first round of discussions. And just would you mind to share with us your experiences, your ideas, your doubts, how you dealing with this change, with this shift in the culture and attitude towards DEI, and then maybe we'll have the time for a second round and see what you're planning, your organizations are thinking about the future of DEI. So, shall we start with Lisa Corti? Okay?
Yes,
so, would you mind to share your experiences, your opinions about this very important topic?
Thank you very much, Adriano, again for having me and for inviting me here today in order to talk about this very interesting topic. As you said, 2025 has been a little bit a new wave for the diversity, equity and inclusion matter and topic. And as it happened for many companies, ours as well decided to think a little bit in depth how to organize and structure these interesting...
Sorry to interrupt you, Lisa. Could you introduce the audience to the audience your organization?
Yes, of course, yes. Yes, I'm Lisa Corti. I am the group head of HR and legal at RAPI Group. It is an international multinational corporation in the chemical industry. We have 8 branches in the world, from the US to Singapore, and our headquarters is in Switzerland. So we have a very diverse workforce, different cultures, different needs, different traditions that we have to respect and acknowledge. That's why, as I was saying, a little bit more than 1 year ago, when we understood and realized that the diversity, equity and inclusion topic was about to change and the sensibilities were a little bit shifting, I'm not saying in a positive or in a negative way, but anyway, it was the topic was under a lens in order to be evaluated in a different way. We also understood that it was very much company-driven, HR-driven, this process and these programs. And there was a sort of lack of engagement in a way or another, no matter how much we were investing and involving ourselves in these programs. But it was very difficult to really engage our people. So what we have decided, also as a learning curve, because what we wanted was a employee base that was feeling and at ease with the diversity, equity, and inclusion topics in the various countries we're in. We decided to go from top to down to bottom, from bottom to top. So at the end of last year, the December 2024, what we said, it was like, okay, let's stop what we're doing and ask our employees what they want us to do, in which way they want us to be engaged. So we went from a reactive approach to the diversity, equity, and inclusion to a very proactive one, asking our employees to tell us in the way they wanted to be involved. And from that came out a very, very interesting discussions. We did some roundtables involving employees from the diverse branches, from the US to Singapore, Thailand, Russia, Europe. We have a presence in many countries. And that brought to a completely different way of thinking at the diversity, equity, and inclusion. It also allowed us to focus on what really mattered for our employees, not forgetting that the company needs also to show the road. So, okay, we listen to you, we take care of your desires and everything, but let's remember that there are many other aspects that maybe go underside, but we have to put the light on them. So a little bit of your idea and visions and our ideas and visions. These helped us increase the return of investment. We have way more presence, 50% more of engagement in the events and the activities that we are doing that are diversity and equity and inclusion based. And we are also focusing the attention on having one person in the HR that is dealing with diversity, equity, and inclusion solely. And that is helping foster the culture of diversity, equity, and inclusion. So we are going from a program to a belonging. So the people that are working with us are believing in what we are doing because it starts from them. And we are listening to their needs and what they really want to do. And in a year like 2025, that is very different from what we have experienced in the past, where it seems that diversity, equity, and inclusion was a little bit a trend. Now we want to say, let's do this our way. So we don't want to compare ourselves to many other industries or different businesses, but we want to do the things the way we are, listening to the core of our company, of our beliefs, respecting them, accepting them, understanding them. And in this way, we think that we can carry on in a way that in the way that matters for the company, but as well for our people. So this is
sharing your perspective. You have a global perspective, so it's
yes, it's a global perspective.
Point.
Yep.
There's a way of tackling these political backlash. Anyway.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
And you're doing your own way. You know.
Yes, that's a good point. We are doing our own way because we saw that doing the way everyone was doing was not working for us. And that's why we had to reshape a little bit the strategy and start all over in a fresh way. I haven't seen that as a failure, but as a learning point for our organization. And it's a little bit our culture. So always ask ourselves, is still valid and still meaningful? And if it is, okay. If it's not, okay, let's reshape a little bit and see what we can do better. And especially in years and in situations like the one that we're living with a huge, let's say, impacts that are coming from very different point of views and perspective, this is something that for us was a great success.
And this bottom-up approach also means listening, and listening
Yes,
always
yes,
a learning
yes,
opportunity.
exactly. People felt at the center of the activities we're doing, and are feeling really part of the topic. So
Thank
it's
you very much.
it's important.
Elisa Fornero.
Good morning. So I'm Elisa Fornero, and I'm the HR director for Southwest Europe and in theory DNI, and I'm starting to say in theory because my title will change, DNI for EMEA and Latin America. I'm working for an American organization called Johnson Controls. Johnson Controls is a big organization focusing on smart building solutions to support our customer in the sustainability journey. We are more than 100,000 employees across all the globe, present in all continents, present in 150 employees, so you can already imagine that our cultural background and it's quite important, and the diversity, in particularly from a cultural point of view, is really, really important. So, as we were saying, DNI, we used to have a very strong team inside the DNI. For us, the DNI used to be very important until a few months ago.
Expressing the fact that
Used to be. No, it's just a matter of and the reshuffle. I will tell you the story. But I would like to tell you a little bit how it was, because I think it's important to understand the move from one concept of DNI to what we have right now. So, in particular in EMEA, because let's focus in Europe and Middle East, the DNI, apart from the cultural point of view, that is not minorities as is interpreted in the US, but was mainly based on gender. So we used to do lots of reports related to the gender, also because we are an engineering company where 75% of the people are male. So there was a big, big push in trying to have women in leadership. We used to have lots of tools where we were just clicking a button, and every time a vice president was telling us, how many females did you hire this month? We hired 3 women, so really, really map, and always lots of stress about this. But then the political situation in US changed drastically, and in January, in 2 days, we had to delete completely the word diversity from the organization. It was a kind of, when you are working on an Excel document or in a Word document and you need to do find and replace. So the word diversity was unpronounceable. We were not able to say about. So you can imagine the big shift because we were really using diversity everywhere, on the website, on the presentations. So we really had to completely cancel and also change completely the strategy. Also the tools where we were really relying and able to click the button, we were not even able to use the tools anymore. I don't know how much familiar you are with the political situation, but the American companies are risking of not having a fund from the government if they are still focusing on the gender situation. So we had to reinvent ourselves. We've done some workshop with the business, with ourselves. First of all, we rebranded the team. Now the team is called Employee Engagement and Inclusion. Inclusion is still very, very strong. The diversity is not that we cancel all what we have done, because there is still some focus. Of course, it's a focus that is slightly hidden, or better. We continue to believe that we want to have a diverse team. Diverse, as I was telling you, for me, the cultural diversity is really important, because I'm a strongly believer that the more people we have with different backgrounds, it's more interesting also to work in an organization, and also from a problem-solving point of view, it's quite interesting. So it's not that we have cancelled it, but we are not publicizing anymore the word diversity.
Interesting. And So it must be very difficult also because if you are in the sustainability sector, I mean, gender and cultural backgrounds are really linked to at least to the social sustainability. So, which is part of the ESG. It's a big S there. Okay. Okay, we'll go back to that. I wanted to ask to Lisa just briefly. Did you have to rebrand and use like another word too?
No, we don't.
You didn't. Okay.
We didn't.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Claire Idier. Claire, you are HR Director Europe, but for an American company, right?
Correct, yeah. So I'm Claire, I'm working for an American company that is called Massimo. We're active in the medical device environment. And so I was listening to what was said before, but actually the challenges on our side was different. As I said, we have a very young company, less than 40 years old, and until last year, the CEO of the company was as well the founder. So we've been always, promoting. Okay, sorry. We've been always promoting an environment free of any kind of discrimination. So around gender, around any kind of discrimination. But we have never implemented, very, how should I say, strict policies. Not because we were an American company, but just because the company was young. So that was clearly not the priority. And we had a change at the board last year, and now, I mean, the goal on our side is really, I mean, to seize this opportunity to make these topics, so diversity, equity, and inclusion a priority, and to show, as you know, Europe region, where we have quite a lot of regulations, where we are obliged, no matter if you are an American company or not, or another company, you are obliged to provide, some data. You are obliged to put some measures in place. So the goal on our side as European region is to show, how these kind of measures, how these kind of legal obligations help basically the company to promote, a very, safe workplace, how we can, attract and retain talents. So we want to say this, how should I say, legal obligations, framework we have in Europe to show to the US, how we can kind of develop this in other regions where it's not that there is a pushback not to put anything in place, but maybe they don't show it as a priority. So this is where we are. So really at the beginning, we have not put a lot of things in place, but we really hopeful that with what we've been doing in Europe, that might, be implemented in other regions, in other countries, and help to push the company, let's say, to invest on this. Yeah.
So you're dealing with the double standards.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to adapt to Europe,
Oh, yeah.
legal obligations and norms.
Yeah.
But maybe you're afraid that from United States somebody will say, "Oh, what you're doing over there."
Exactly. Because sometimes when we're talking about this topic, it's a kind of foreign language for them. I mean, meaning. It's a priority, as I was saying. It has always been, a priority to promote an environment, free of any kind of discrimination, but more as, how should I say, a concept, as a principle, which I guess is the basis, of course, but it's not enough. So, of course, I mean, one would like to say, yeah, but it's normal, it's natural, why should we do differently? Because unfortunately, sometimes if you don't put rules, if you don't put framework around this, I mean, it comes as a second priority. So yeah, and also because more than promoting, let's say, a very, how should I say, trendy environment or these kind of things, putting some policies in place, avoid, this kind of discriminations, avoid, avoid any kind of issues you might have, in HR. So it's really, to me, a kind of win-win situation.
Okay, maybe during the second round we'll see how to cure this schizophrenia approach.
Yeah.
Schizophrenic approach.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Claire. Michelle, so would you mind to share with us your experiences and doubts and ideas?
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Michelle Strachwitz. I'm the head of sustainability of agency Loop. Loop is a digital agency working for global leading clients in design, digital technology, and content marketing. Our headquarters is in Salzburg, but we do have 7 offices worldwide. Talking about diversity, our team is about 464 talents, and we have 59 different nationalities within our team, and we do have, 51% of our team is international, and we have a female leadership quote of 52%. So talking about current challenges, in general, I think we have 2 main challenges. So let's be honest, I think at the moment we are facing a bit of a buzzword burnout and backlash, which means that people get a bit tired of over-promising, but also about disconnected strategies. And also, of course, there's a political backlash in the US, but also in Europe, which brings me then to the next challenge. I think now with limited resources in the AI teams, but also in sustainability teams, it should be less about doing more and following trends, but more about doing smarter. So really focus on the material analysis, where do you really have an impact on your team, but also on the industry. But then also start with co-creation, talking to your team, focus more on belonging and social safeness. I think that's the same approach we also follow. Because I think at the end, diversity brings really the raw talent into your team, but social safeness and belonging makes a difference and turns it into a high-performing team. One example or one challenge we faced, for example, at Loop last year, and it's also about co-creation and collaboration. It was, we have 44% of parents in our leadership team, and 100%, for example, of our female management team are parents. So that's a huge topic, and we got the feedback, you're doing okay, but we could do better. So that's the reason why we started to kick off this process, not because we had to. It was not a trend at the moment. There was no ready-to-use solution at the market, but we had the feeling we have to do it. And also we had a look at the industry and the market, and it says okay, we know that parents, especially moms, have limited career options because of missing flexibility, but also if low visibility. If you, for example, see a role model of a working mom, it's the perfect role model of a full-time working mom managing household, job, and kids perfectly. But I think it's a bit over-promising expectations because honestly, at the end, it's all-you-can-eat buffet. You can have everything what you want, but at the end you feel really bad because it was too much. So that's the reason why we kicked off the process. We started with co-creation with our parents. We created a safe space. We asked them, what do you need? What are your challenges? At the same time, of course, we also ask parents out of Loop. And as this topic was really complex, we started with a collaboration. We worked together with a long-term partner, a female leadership coach. She shaped with us a program. Also, we invited a lot of other experts from parenthood, equality, company culture, company communication, and so on, to really work with us on this topic. And the outcome was that we created the first leadership program for parents. And it's for all parents, because if we really want to talk about equality, we have to involve as well mom and dads. And then it's digitally, so all parents can really join the program, very flexible. And the thing is, and that was the first point what's really important to kick off this process is that the parents working on their own individual goals, on the commitment, and also on the personal resources, and to focus on the new social skills they created or they gained during the parenthood journey. Because at the end, one really big finding was there's no one-size-fits-all solution. We really have to be more flexible. And that was the second step. We added a new system, really flexible working models and working hours for all parents. So there was then really a match in between what they found out, what is their commitment, what are their resources versus what we can provide them to solve it. And the third step was role models. I think to really also shape the mindset within our agency, we show different role models, different perspectives with different working models, with different working hours, and also career levels and life stages to really bring it to our culture. And the last step, because we created something but worked out really well, the feedback was great, so we started a next level collaboration. Our partner, our coach also is offering now the Care Plus Lead program to all other companies, organizations and individuals, just to really shape this topic, work-family enrichment, also within our society, and really to have more impact on this topic, that we really can support also parents out of loop. And I think when it comes to DEI projects and really successful DEI strategies, that needs to be like co-creation, collaboration, but also social safeness. And I think that's pretty simple but powerful, and less following trends and less doing like buzzword bingo.
Very interesting. Thank you. So it seems that it's emerging so far, at least, that the co-creative, participative approach could be a good reaction and to the political backlash, but also as a shift from regulation and norms to really sense making. So creating also engagement.
Yes.
So, which is we're hearing something positive at the end, right?
Yeah.
It gives us hope for the future. Fabrizio Tripodi. So I know you work in an American company too.
Yes, I do. Yes.
And American company who's like dealing with managing very well-known brands that we all know. And I know that at the core of your organizational culture and values, there's a diversity management. So, how are you dealing with this political backlash?
Look, thank you, Adriano. I can tell you something more. I will try to tell you a story about my company. First of all, I'm working with Brown-Forman. Brown-Forman is the company that is a U.S. Kentucky-based company. It's the company that is producing and selling the Jack Daniel's whiskey and several other spirits since more than 150 years. I'm working as HR director currently in the Europe region, but I mean, in the past years also, especially I was working more on the emerging markets. So Brown-Forman is an American company that has gone through a journey when it comes to D&I. So I will try to tell you a story more than listing what we have been doing. I just want to try to share our journey, how we landed to where we are today, which is a very different position than where we were just 1 year ago. So Brown-Forman started its effort in the D&I space back in 2019. So very early stage, we have been immediately, as part of our DNA and our culture, we strongly still believe that diversity brings richness, and diversity is a business topic, it's not an HR topic, right? So, and we can talk more about this later. But actually, what happened last year, as we all know, things have started changing dramatically. The political, the legal landscape, notably in the US, but not only, has been changing in a very important way, as we know. And so last year, back in 24, Brown-Forman came up with a public statement where we share our position in terms of our D&I strategy will be evolving, okay? Of course, this has come together with a lot of political tension. Many other companies like Bud, Harley Davidson, these kind of iconic US brands have been very much put a kind of a pressure to say, okay, where are you going now? No, things were changing soon in the administration and so on. So actually, I can tell you this is a public statement. So Brown-Forman last year in August 24 shared with internally and externally that we have been putting a lot of effort and a lot of energy in the D&I, and we still believe that diversity is a key element of our company and our culture. But we need to adapt to what is changing around, right? And when I say Jack Daniel's is an iconic brand of US, of course, this is has a strong share in our decision. So, very practically, we announced that we have been, few points, like ensuring that executive incentives and employees' goals are tied to business performance only. We have been removing our workforce, our quantitative workforce and supplier diversity ambitions. We have been deciding to end our participation with the Human Rights Campaign Corporate Equality Index, which is a US entity that is assessing company against their equality effort and results. And of course, we committed to review our training to make sure that internal training on D&I, to make sure that this could be consistent with this evolved strategy. What has changed in terms of brand? We do have a diversity and inclusion office with the D&I officers, with the D&I team. What has changed is that we move, like, from a branding perspective, we have been sticking more on the inclusive culture, which, by the way, is something that is part of our DNA, something that goes beyond the D&I, I would say, statement and initiative. It's something that is part of our core values. And actually, this was an announcement that was a bit tough. Of course, D&I topics have different impact. If you talk about this in UK or in Brazil or in Turkey or in Africa, they land very differently. I think this is a very important point. But what we were stating also very clearly, that there are things that are changing, but there are things that are not changing. What is not changing is our strong belief that we want to keep building an inclusive environment where everyone feels welcome, respected, able to bring their best self to work. That's something that is part of us, regardless of what's going on around the company. We committed, and we will keep working. We keep working with the ERGs, employee resources groups, to make sure that we have this kind of space for professional development, networking, mentoring about these topics. And of course, I would say the most important thing is that we want to keep working and building our global team to make sure that we are reflecting the diversity of the customer base and the geography we are serving. Because as a consumer goods company, if you are not able to reflect the diversity of the customer you are serving, you are having a big problem, right? Because the world is different, it's diverse. That's the reality, right? So you need to make sure that the decision-making process is reflecting diversity, which means richness. This is what happened. When it comes to what it means now for the company, I would say we are in a pause/reflection involving our inclusive strategy. Of course, there have been many programs, many commitments that we have been reviewing, and we are, I would say, still assessing. The situation has dramatically changed since that August, and I would say inclusion is a top priority, still in our very high in our agenda, but it's clear that the way we should also look at that is very different. And my personal feeling, and I can tell you more when we will talk about the future, is that we need to make sure that we look at this in a way that is consistent, relevant, is shared, and is not creating polarization as maybe has happened somehow and sometime in the past. That's where we are.
Thank you very much. So, thanks a lot. So we have a very interesting and diverse scenario here. So, yes, as we agreed, I would like to talk about the future. I mean, what you're hoping, what you expect, and what you fear. And I would add something that is related to my personal interest. I've just started, but I'm doing a bit of research about diversity in a very specific topic, which is social background. Because in discussing DI, of course, the focus has been on gender, on cultural background, on issues related to disability, for sure, and maybe also like different seniority, different age at work. But the Cinderella of DEI discussions has been the social background, which is social background means different opportunities for learning, different opportunity for social networking, and different opportunities for career. So in some organizations, especially in UK, are dealing with this topic, but it's very, very small discussion. I mean, it's been overlooked and is still being overlooked. So if you had some ideas or you came across about also this topic, would be interesting to hear. But main focus is about the future. So Lisa, would you mind to share with us your ideas and the scenarios that you're expecting for the future?
Thank you. Yes, very interesting, all the experiences that we are learning.
Indeed, we have some outstanding speakers today.
Yes, very, very interesting and different. Well, for the future, I think we can no longer make long-term programs. That's the point. So we have to live by today and the next months and see how the programs that we are putting in place that reflect the social situations are working. What we want is also to remain very, how can I say, we want the programs that we put in place to reflect who we are as a company, our core values, our policies. We think that we have to remain consistent, and that's very important. So the consistency is what we are keep on looking at. We will try to challenge ourselves to foster new programs and new initiatives. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is and will remain a center of our attention. It's very important, and it's also very close to my heart as a professional. I will not accept to work in a company that doesn't put this a strong light on these topics. Of course, then each and every company, each and every experience will have to tailor it based on the workforce, based on the culture that they have in a company. But this is very important. And what you were mentioning, the sort of diversity, equity, and inclusion topic related to social background is something that I'm not currently dealing with, but I did in my past experience in another very, very, very big company, a consultancy firm. And it's something that will be the attention in the next future because it's difficult to find talents. So the talent shortage will destroy this wall of elitarism in an environment, especially like finance or law, medicine, or many other very elitarian backgrounds and studies, because there is a shortage of talents and there is a shortage of hungry people, so people that want to achieve something, no matter where they're coming from, no matter if they come from a rich family or not. So this is a very, very important topic. We for sure will have to deal with it because we, in our industry as well, it's a chemical industry, we are facing difficulties in hiring, and if in the past we were just going into the same old places to recruit and network, we will need to widen it, and widen it will mean accepting way more social background than what we are doing now.
Thank you, Lisa, also because you explained the issues much better than I did, so thank you for that. Elisa, what about the future then?
Future and present. So inclusion, as Fabrizio was saying, is definitely something that it's very important. In my organization in particular, we also have what we are calling the BRG, the Business Resource Group, where there are individuals across all the globe that they are starting to working because they like to work together on specific topics. There are, for example, the caregivers or parents with kids or women network or group related to the sustainability. In particular, for us, inclusion is linked to what is the disability. We wanted to all the legal requirements has become now a fantastic opportunity for inclusion. So we are really, really active on this, and we will be more and more because we want to make sure that all the business understand this. There is a big part related to the EU-pay transparencies as well. But then talking about the topics that you were mentioned that I've always been completely passionate since the time of the university, the social aspect is very nice to work for a multinational because it really gives you the opportunity to do also some experiments on these things. And in particular, what we really care and what I launched is the reverse mentoring. I love to mix it up, the people, the very young people together with people who are very, very senior. I really see fantastic benefits of doing that. It's really helping on the inclusion as well. It's a kind of social experiment because I see also some resistance, especially in some part of Europe. But on the other side, is a fantastic opportunity of on the future and making sure that we go ahead on this.
Thank you very much. Claire, so what are your expectations about the future?
As you were saying before, I think we need to be hopeful and optimistic. That's the basis. Considering,
I'm not sure we should be optimistic.
No, I think I mean
actually, I think a little bit slightly pessimistic and with a bit of paranoia could be helpful.
Yeah, but let's be positive, not too say optimistic. Okay, let's be positive. What I mean is that what I'm sure of is that we need to adapt, to be flexible. I mean, keeping in mind the geopolitical situation. I don't want to make any politics. So by this, we need, as a company, so as an organization, to have this in our values, in our principles. This is the only thing we can rely on. So having said that, I think it will be important that it comes from the top in the organization. So to make sure that when we are recruiting, when we are promoting, this inclusive leadership is part of the values and the skills that our managers have within the organization. That's the first thing. Then before you were mentioning this social background, because as you said, I mean, when we talk about diversity, equity and inclusion, most of the time we focus on the gender, disability, something we didn't talk before, but is as well, just the color of your skin, your origin. That's maybe now we're more focusing on the gender, but this is clearly a kind of discrimination that it has been existing for time, and we need to fight against it. And I guess this comes as well along with the social background. And before you were mentioning the talent shortage, I guess what we're trying to do as a company is when we try to diversify, let's say, the type of schools, universities where we look for talents, not only being present at big university, very famous university first, but try to diversify these kind of things. Also we're not talking about mentoring, but try as well to put some training programs in place, meaning, welcoming, for instance, if we're talking about Switzerland or Germany, they're very strong in what we call, apprenticeship models. So very young, professionals. So trying to welcome this kind of students. It's a kind, of small action that we're trying to put in place to diversify as well our talents, our employees, and make it more inclusive, let's say.
Thank you very much, Claire. Michelle, so...
Yes, I want to end the talk a bit with some more motivating words. You do then the pessimistic ones, right? I think we need the power.
But it's a pragmatic pessimism. It's just in order to hope, you need to be careful. Yeah.
Okay, I go with hope. Okay. But I think we should just change a bit our perspective. I think the backlash shouldn't be the end. It's just kind of a reset button, and we just should challenge our strategies or projects and focus on impact. Why? Because I think the future generation, we can't activate them with the older existing system. They are expecting more. And I think we can activate them with belonging, with co-creation, with listening. And then from a digital agency perspective, I think there's one thing we should also focus on, it's AI. I think AI is moving in with a speed we've never seen before. As we see it from client requests, it's about automation, standardizations, efficiency in every single department. So, and that will go on. We can see it already now. And I think something really interesting is happening. I think what makes us human will be the key for competitive advantage. So empathy, collaboration, and creativity. So, and this will lead to success. And I also think that this will be something, but of course the social skills you will find are really in a diverse team. So hopefully that will be also something what will be also again back in business needs and arguments for that. So, and then last but not least, I think of course there will be a decrease in political support, in fundings and so on. But the answer should be powerful collaborations. I think powerful collaborations of companies, organizations, or whatever can drive then in the future real change and impact, because at the end, systemic change, you can't do it on your own, you should do it together. And I think that's maybe also a new approach we should focus on.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Also, because you mentioned AI, I'm surprised we didn't mention AI before, because of course it's a very urgent topic and it's related to the ethical dimensions very much. So.
But again, based on our projects we're working at the moment, it's not that urgent anymore. I think it should have already the focus on. Sure.
But the discussion is still going on because we're just in the learning process, in the learning loop.
Yeah, good.
Fabrizio Tripodi, so yes. Would you mind to share your perspective?
Let's talk about the future. So first of all, let me make a joke. It's funny. I think it's the only panel that didn't touch on AI because it's all about AI now. So it's really interesting. But I think AI will play a role, of course. But I just want to share a couple of words. When it comes to the future, I think we need to be. I mean, of course, you can be pessimistic, we can be optimistic, whatever, but we need to make sure, I think, that we keep the right focus on what is important and what is relevant, and also understand what has been the learning journey through what we went through, right, in this change of direction. So I think that we need to keep the right focus on what is relevant for the company, for the organization, what is important, what is something that is not negotiable in our culture, right? This is what I believe we need to stick to. We need to make sure that when it comes to inclusion, as I said before, this is something that is part of our DNA, and especially in this time of change, uncertainty, geopolitical, very, very difficult, there was a situation, that's where we need to make sure that every one of us, especially leaders, are championing the culture and making sure that these things are not changing. We are safeguarding our culture. We are not being impacted to an extent that can change something can change the culture where people believe, where people reflect. So I think that's the most important thing to focus on. I would say it's also important that we stress the message that inclusive culture is not an HR topic, it's a business topic. There has been sometimes a risk of HR having this nice storytelling that doesn't reflect into the employee experience, right? So we need to make sure that everyone is championing, is walking the talk when it comes to inclusion. So maybe we do less, but we are extremely authentic and we are extremely transparent. Also being open to be vulnerable, because this is a difficult topic. We are all learning, right? So there might be mistakes, there might be things that we need to learn. So we need to be extremely authentic when it comes to such delicate topic. Otherwise, we risk to have a storytelling that is not reflected in the company, and this is creating polarization, because as a paradox, in some situation where maybe you've been trying to force a bit the topic on inclusion and diversity, maybe someone felt excluded because they were not catching up with that, they weren't understanding. I can tell you, very short story, at the very beginning of our D&I journey, we were making this training all around the world. I was making this training back in 2019 in Turkey, in Czech Republic, and actually these people, they were not in disagreement, they just didn't get what we were talking about, because the cultural background makes the difference, and we need to respect that. The entry point of different culture and different countries is something that we need to be all extremely conscious. I think this was one of the big fail when we said, like, this is what we must do, and one size fits all. It does not like that. The world is extremely different. We can see now how different is the world, right? So last but not least, I always stress the point around you can change things, processes, tools, talent review, recruiting, whatever. There are many tools that you can put in place, but the inclusive culture, the way people think about being inclusive, it's a cultural journey that doesn't go through processes. Process can help, enabling, accelerating, but if people do not believe in what we are saying, do not reflect themselves in the meaning of the inclusive culture, that means behaving in a way, communicating in a way, understanding, there is something that is not changing. What I'm trying to say is that there has been maybe a bit of a fail in forcing some processes to reach some goals, and then you turn around and you see that your team is not exactly with you, right? There are some people that are left back because they're not catching up. So we need to be also patient that a cultural journey takes time, a lot of effort, a lot of energy, a lot of authenticity. So trust the process, but you need to build the culture, right? That's really important. Last but not least, I would say this is something that should be a shared, common goals. I mean, there is no like men, women. This is something that's all for us. Inclusion and diversity is creating richness. That's clear, and the world is going in that direction. So it's not just about the organization. I'm also talking about the society. You see that when it comes to these topics, the polarization is just around the corner, right? I'm here, you're here, I'm talking about you. No, it's me. That's really where we need to. So we need to go back, recalibrate, be vulnerable and open to say something was not wrong, recalibrate our approach and make sure that we do things together. And again, maybe we do less, but in a more authentic way. That's my hope and my, I would say, commitment on the D&I topic.
Thank you, Fabrizio. So walk the talk.
Absolutely.
I want to stick to it because maybe you're suggesting there'll be like less activities, but there's also an informal organization, which is, and leadership is still there. And in the leadership toolbox, there's still listening, inclusions and persuasive communications, and also values. So, yes.
That's how you move the needle when it comes to culture, right? I mean, you cannot really, if you are putting goals, you have the risk that you are forcing something, and then again, you just get maybe where you want to get, but then you realize that it didn't work for everyone. So that is something we need to be very careful about.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to our speakers. Thank you very much to our audience. I think that my opinion is that there's been an outstanding discussion. We have shared and learned a lot. So I hope you share my perception. So I thank you again. Bye-bye.